So what do you do when God doesn't answer your prayers? Jesus taught his disciples that they should be persistent. Don't give up. Keep praying. Demand that God set things right. Now, when I've prayed that way in the past, I've tended to experience one of three outcomes. But before I get to those, if we haven't met yet, my name's Corey, and I'm an ordained minister and the pastor of RedeemerOnline.Church. And it's my mission to help you understand and practice the Christian faith, especially if you don't go to church right now. And if that's something you're interested in, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, the like button, and the notification bell, because that's going to let you know whenever we put out new videos, and it's going to let me know that you're here. And I'm so glad you're here. Now, the three main outcomes that I experience when praying persistently, despite God not answering. The first is that eventually God does answer, but in his own timing, which is different than my timing, and I'm sure you could guess that's frustrating. It's like the difference between what I think is a long time and what my 4-year-old thinks is a long time. What to me is a 4-minute timeout, for him, maybe feels like an eternity. I suspect the difference is kind of the same for us and God. What to me feels like days or weeks or months, maybe to God is only seconds. But the point is, in God's own timing, sometimes my request, my persistent prayer is granted. The second experience that I have is that my heart changes. Theologian J.I. Packer said that we should argue with God. We should argue about how our demand, our prayer, fits within his kingdom and sense of justice. Meaning, as you make your case to God for what you want, argue for why it fits with Jesus' picture of heaven on earth. And when I've done this over time, as I continue to try and make that case, what I'm really doing is conforming my will to God's will. Like when Jesus taught his disciples to pray, "Your kingdom come, your will be done." I find the more I pray your kingdom, the more I'm praying not my kingdom, not my will, and that changes me. I start to realize that maybe the thing I'm demanding from God isn't his will. It doesn't fit with his picture of heaven on earth, and as I argue, my heart changes. The third thing that I've experienced has to do with trust. When I persist in prayer, seeking God's will and kingdom and not my own, my trust in God changes. To be honest, sometimes it wanes, it splinters, it shrinks. Why? Well, because I'm certain that the thing that I've asked for is in line with God's idea of heaven on earth. I'm certain it's in line with Jesus' vision of the kingdom. And I don't get why I'm not getting what I asked for. So my trust takes a hit. I pray less. I ask for less. And then other times, even when I don't get the answer I'm looking for, my trust strangely grows. I mean, if I knew what God knew, if I had his point of view of the past and the present and the future, maybe I'd understand why God chose to do what he chose to do. Persistent prayer grows my trust in God in that way. My trust in him to run the universe as he sees fit. And that's a practice that rests the responsibility of the outcome on God's shoulders instead of my own. It reminds me that I'm not the center of the universe. I'm not responsible for keeping my whole world going. And that trust brings me peace, even if I don't get the answer I'm looking for. Which brings up probably one of the most difficult questions when it comes to prayer. What if you do all of this? What if you follow every one of Jesus' teaching on prayer? Maybe you even do it perfectly. And God still says no. I'm not talking about heaven being silent for a while. I'm talking about when the door gets slammed shut, when the answer is no. Not maybe, or hold on, or we'll see, or just be patient. But what do you do when the answer is very clearly no? No, your hoped-for future is never going to be a reality. No, she's not going to get better. No, you don't get to have one more day with him. No, I'm not going to fix it. No, it will never leave. It will always be a part of you, because sometimes the answer is no. And I don't always know what to do with that, if I'm being honest with you. Are there some theological answers? Yeah. You can tell yourself that God knows what's best for you, that he's got good reasons for saying no, but sometimes there's no way his no is what's best. You can also tell yourself that God is still good even when life's not good. And I believe that's true. But it doesn't make the no feel any better. At least not for me. There's really only one thing that comforts me when God says no. And that has to do with Jesus. You see, the only way past a no from God is to go through it. You can't get around it or go under or over it. When God says no, it's just something you have to go through. But I take comfort in knowing that I don't have to go through it alone. Jesus knows what it's like to receive a no too. On the night he was betrayed before he was crucified, Jesus prayed that God would take this cup from him. Let it pass, he said. Jesus basically prayed, I don't want to go through this, the betrayal and the trial, the abuse, the humiliation, the anguish, the pain, the suffering, the death. If it be your will, let it pass. And God said, no. Jesus knows what it's like to receive that devastating answer to an honest, earnest prayer. And look, I know that doesn't change it. It doesn't fix it. It doesn't make it better. But it helps me, knowing that I'm not on my own in this, that Jesus has been here and he's in here with me. And so are the people that I love. So are the people that I do life with. So yes, even when heaven is silent, pray persistently, because when you do, he might answer you. It might change your heart. It might grow your trust, but be prepared, because God might say no too. And if that's the case, just know that Jesus has been there, and he's in there with you. The image of the invisible God, the one who said, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. In other words, if you want to know what God is like, just look at me. That divine person so deeply identified himself with the human experience that he was willing to walk through one of the most troubling parts of it all, when God says no. Friends, he's been here, and he's in here with you. And so am I. And so are your loved ones. We're in this together. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.